Hello guys to my first video of energy production. In this series I will cover how power plants work from renewable to unrenewable sources. Coal, oil-fired, gas, nuclear, hydro, wind, solar, geothermal. So these videos are for anybody interested in this topic, but also for the people who want to be informed, critical thinkers, as I will present you the pros and cons of each type of fuel, compare it to other alternatives, present you the impact a certain power production method can have on the environment. As a teacher, I can provide you with facts so that you can form your own opinion on the topic. This video series is supported by you guys, because you want to know more. You want to learn about electricity and its effects on the environment, depending on what power production we are using, you know? And I'm making these videos for you, because of you, and if you like the content, you know what to do. Please give it a like, leave a comment, and most importantly, share it with your friends. And now let's continue with today's video. Sadly, there is a lot of misinformation from different activist groups, political parties, who do not weigh the pros and cons, but they just simply push their agenda and even tell you lies. Even from reputable sources like Greenpeace. You can watch a video how a nuclear physicist breaks down the misinformation. A video prompt should appear now. If it does not, you can find the link in the video description, and you can also find something else in the video description, but you will hear about that later. But now that I told you what you can expect and why, let's get started. Humanity did harness power for a very long time. On the right side you can see one of the oldest water mills still in function. I mean, it is from the 12th century AD, so it is 8th, 9th century almost old. In the center we have a donkey turning a mill to crush something that the farmer is putting there or the worker, while on the left side we have a windmill. They are unmistakable. So water, wind, animals are all energy sources. When it comes to electricity, we started to play around with it in the 80s from the 90th century, and it developed ever since. Here on the left you can see a water dam, and on the right you can see a tokamak fusion reactor, which we are prototyping nowadays. In there we are basically doing fusion that is happening in our sun and in the stars. We can divide energy sources to renewable and unrenewable. Renewable are those which will have infinite amount, such as the sun, wind, water, geothermal. This is just hot water coming out of the earth. While for the unrenewable, on the other hand, the amount is limited. Here we have coal, oil, gas and nuclear. To get a better understanding, let's see energy consumption overall for the last century and so. Note that these are not just for electricity, this is overall energy consumption, also for production and other stuff. So, on the left side, we can see that the graph spawns from 1965 up to 2013. And here we can see that we have basically three forms of fuels that are dominating. Those are oil, the blue one, coal, it's the red one, and then we have natural gas. We do have some nuclear and hydro, and even some renewable, but as you can see their percentage is very low. But if we take a look from 1965, we were consuming about something less than 4 billion metric tons of oil equivalent. Well, now we are consuming, I mean now, this is 10 years ago, we were consuming 3 times the amount. And it's similar here. Here we have a graph spawning from 1820s up to the 2000s. Here we also have biofuels. Biofuels, it's basically wood and animal fat. And you can see with the start of the first industrial revolution, the amount of coal used increased drastically. Then when we discovered oil, the amount of oil used increased drastically. and so on. It goes similar for natural gas as well. And if you take a look, it is, worrisome, so to speak, that only a small amount is hydroelectric, which is renewable, and also, let's say, biofuels are renewable. Everything else, it's fossil fuels, and that's not good for the environment, There are believers and there are non-believers, but hopefully, after you will watch all of this series, you will have your own idea about pollution and everything. But now, let's go and see what is going on with energy production for electricity only. We will be using a very nice site. Now let's take a look at some actual production for electricity that spans from 1985 all the way up to 2021. So we can see here the energy amount. So in 1985 we were consuming 10,000 terawatt hours of energy. And you can also see the composition, you could do your own math to see. But let's see what do we have nowadays. So 36 years later, which is still, 2 years ago from today, but still, it's a good representation. We see that we went from consuming 10,000 terawatt hours to 25,000, even more. Maybe nowadays we are at 28,000. Maybe some newer data would enlighten us. But if we can see here the percentage or the amount of energy, how it is produced, we can see that sadly coal and gas dominates. Then we have nuclear, which was staying the same, so to speak, after 1990s. It didn't change much. Hydro did increase a bit more. This is the biggest renewable source of energy we have. And then we have wind, solar, bioenergy and other stuff. We can see those started a little bit before the 2000s. And they represent a small amount. Here we have energy production for the countries of the world that spans again from 1985 up to 2022. And basically, the darker the color, the more energy a country is producing and also, consuming. Maybe they're exporting a bit, but, more or less the numbers is there. So what do you think will happen when I move the slider forward? I mean, if you take a look here, the energy consumption increased. So we should expect that as we move forward with time, we should see more and more countries colored with a darker shade. So, and as you can see, that's what happened. Here we have electricity production from fossil fuels, nuclear and renewables in a percentage. And we can see that in 1985, around 64% almost were fossil fuels. And in 2021, it's still above 60, it's almost 62%. True, renewables did increase, but also take in mind that renewables, here we have hydropower plants, which are not something new. So the growth of renewables started around year 2000, as we've seen on the earlier graph, and it went from 19% up to 28%. So it did increase, and nuclear, it did decrease. But you must take in mind, that this is also considering that the energy production is increasing. So, if you have the same amount of nuclear, if you produce more energy, their percentage will be lower. And lastly, here we have a similar graph to the first one. For this graph here, you can see that the values are not put one above the other, as we had here, but they are put all from the same value up. So it gives you a better idea of how much we are consuming of something. So we can see that for coal, it went from 3,800 terawatt hours to 10,000 terawatt hours. So it increased by 2.5 times, which is crazy. I mean, at least oil, it's getting down a bit. And we can see that gas also increased a lot. So here it was 1,500, so to speak. And here we are consuming more than 6,000 terawatt hours of it. So it increased for 4 times. Nuclear, as we've seen earlier, it's staying stable, it doesn't change. Hydropower, it's increasing. And also wind, solar and bioenergy, all of them are slowly increasing, but still they represent a very small percentage compared to gas and coal. If you have watched so far, it means that you are interested in this topic, or that you have just the video running in the background as you do other stuff. Regardless, I task you with reading one article that covers air pollution, so that you will have a better understanding when we will take a look at different emissions produced by different power plants. The link is in the video description. That is all for the introduction. The next video will be about gas turbine power plants. Hope you found this instructive and entertaining. If you did, please share it with your friends and relatives, and I will see you all in the next one. Gaming Teacher out.